Hello, welcome once again to Colonel O'Truth's Miniature Issues and the continuing build of Undercrag City. For those of you who are new to the channel, Undercrag is built for 10mm scale wargaming. It's a fantasy city of my own devising. In the last episode, I had just completed the first of the buildings that will go into the caves beneath Undercrag City. In this episode, I'll be installing this piece and also adding some colour to the walls of the caves. If you haven't watched it already, please follow the link below to see how I built this piece. And in fact, feel free to go back and look at any of the 30+ episodes we've completed so far. And if you find you're liking these videos, please remember to subscribe and maybe share them. Your support is greatly appreciated. So here's where we were at the end of the last episode. We've got our completed house, and now we need to fit it into the cave system. I've left a niche for this building, and behind it you can see a lot of the wires that are feeding power to the LEDs inside Undercrag's other buildings. As you can see, getting this into place proved to be a bit more tricky than I'd imagined. I'm applying plenty of PVA, but things just don't want to work. The wires behind the building are pushing against it. The roof has broken, mainly because I was too impatient to let the clay dry completely before trying to fit this. But it's okay. Everything is fixable. A good blob of PVA should do the trick, and then I'll have some work to do afterwards. Once I'm satisfied this is in place, it's time to start filling the gaps. More DAS clay. As before, I'm smoothing the DAS with PVA. This helps me to shape it and also stops it from cracking. Using both ends of the paintbrush there, one to sculpt, the other to smooth. I'm hiding all of the joins. Now more foam to bring the cave roof out over the top of this building. I mentioned in a previous episode that I'm working on the caves from the city backwards towards myself, closing them in as I go. Plenty more clay there, but possibly not as much as you might think. It's a thin coating, hiding the foam beneath. The foam gives me structure and allows me to work quite quickly. I'm not bothering to wait for the glue to dry, I'm getting my grey undercoat on there straight away. I'm painting up and over the roof line as well. If there are any visible cracks in the roof of the caves, I want them to be grey, not yellow and red like the materials underneath. So a lot of the colour I previously added is now obscured. It's going to need to be done again. I've decided I need a piece of pavement. This just completes the join between the building and the street. It's a thin slice of foam board with stones drawn in with a pencil. Another slab of foam for the roof there. And all of the stonework has now been highlighted with light grey and white. Just very rough dry brushing. And here are the skeletons of the buildings I'll be putting in later. So how about a look around? The river's looking good. To the left is the doorway I built in an earlier episode. The statue there is just a miniature, painted and dry brushed and not yet glued into place. You can see Southgate Square and the city walls through the archway, and above it all High Chapel and the aqueduct. Now it's time to add some shading. Thin black wash goes over everything. It looks very dark, but it fades as it dries. I'm being very liberal with this. Toning everything together. Darkening the edges of the river as well. Successive washes like this, particularly on the river, just keep everything blended all together. You can't really overdo it. This is helping to pull out the details, the cracks between the stones, the lines in the pavements and street. And making sure I get some ink into the outside world. Later on I'm going to need to blend this together from the other side. So I'll get some groundwork in now. I'm just adding more and more and more. Just want that definition I mentioned. While the black's still wet, I'm adding green. First of all, replacing the bits that I covered up earlier. The idea is that anywhere light can touch the stone, either from outside or the artificial light sources in the buildings, things will grow. It also makes everything a bit more interesting. And now I'm adding yellow to the green. This is just neat yellow ink. And the combination of the two with the black beneath gives lots of different tones. Some of this looks extremely bright, but it will fade as it dries. Also, once this environment is completely enclosed, it's going to be pretty dark, so a bit of brightness won't hurt. Plenty more yellow. Blending it in with the street outside. And starting to look like it belongs to the rest of the model. Bit of dirt on the roof there. And now for some very bright colours. I decided I didn't want these caves to just be plain stone. There could be all sorts of colourful minerals sitting in here, waiting to be mined. So this is a combination of magenta and a pearlescent white ink. Essentially a metallic. It gives it a really nice shine. I'm not covering all of the grey stone, just picking out some large patches of mineral deposits. And now some blue, again mixed with the pearlescent white. You can see it glittering as it flows into the rocks. It's not really overpowering, it's just making it more interesting here. Of course, when it's all closed in and there's no natural light, many of these colours will be invisible, or at least less vivid than they appear now. Have some down by the riverbanks, why not? That's looking pretty colourful. I've made some good progress so far. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you'll join me next time as I start to add more buildings and close in the subterranean streets. Until then, Bye for now.